Art is too important not to share. Welcome to the Allie and Callie Artcast.
Hi, I'm Allie.
And I'm Callie. Welcome to the Artcast.
Yes, and we're still in Walla Walla.
I know. It's like we've been here a month.
I know.
But we haven't. But it's been so great. And we both decided we could live here.
Yeah, for sure.
Easily. Next time we should bring our husbands.
We should.
And see what they think.
Right.
Or we don't need to bring them. And we could just get a little house or an apartment. And we could just stay here, and Kristen can stay with us.
Yeah.
And we could just have a little girl's
I like
place.
that idea.
Okay. Never mind.
Because neither of our husbands drink, so why would they want to come to Walla Walla?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, because of the art.
Yeah, there's more to Walla Walla than wine.
And the food, yeah.
There's so much art.
They might like it.
They might.
Yeah.
Actually, they would. Mm-hmm. I know. Anyway. We're having a great time, and everything else is great in September. Let's see, what else is happening in September?
Well, the night this airs is Art Walk in downtown Coeur d'Alene.
That's right. So go to Art Walk in Coeur d'Alene. I'm sure there's live music. You know, September is a great month in Coeur d'Alene. September's a great month everywhere, right?
September is my favorite month of the year.
Yeah. We mentioned this last time it is one of my favorite months. It's just, there's not too hot.
Yep.
Hopefully not too rainy.
Starting to harvest things in the garden.
Yes.
Starting to put up, that's usually when I get my tomato basil garlic sauce can.
Yes.
That my family just gobbles up.
Yeah.
I never have any left over.
All the goods. The goods.
Yeah, the goods.
Yeah. So it's exciting. It's a good time of year.
Yeah.
But I'm sad to leave Walla Walla.
I know, and we've met some amazing people here.
Yes.
Gotten to know several new friends.
Yes.
And we have another new friend right here with us today.
An artist.
Who
makes lovely paintings. And we found her through Mary Derby at Dama
Wines.
And she has some lovely artwork that is
on display in the winery.
Yes. And she did one of the bottles, I believe. That's what we hear.
Yep.
So we would like to welcome you, Mary Crane.
Mary
Crane Nutter.
Thank you so much. Yes, Mary
Yes.
Crane Nutter. Nutter is my maiden name, and Crane is my given name.
Oh, yeah.
And so it just always felt really important to me that was the root of my name. That's feels like more who I am, Mary Crane. So, and I started that way as an artist, and so I really wanted it to be part of my branding. Although it has sometimes been confusing, and Crane art has always been what I've went with since I started figuring out how to sign a painting.
Yeah.
Way back when. But thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I know. We're excited to hear about you and your art.
Thank you.
Just maybe let us know how you got started.
Yeah. So I went to the Art Institute of Seattle. So I'm actually originally from Southern Idaho because I know you guys are Idaho gals. Yeah. So I'm originally from Idaho and was kind of a farm kid. And I hadn't gotten out of a rural situation and decided to go to Seattle to go to art school.
I am jealous, by the way. I would have loved to have gone to the Art Institute in Seattle.
Yeah, it feels very serendipitous that it all happened because I was more of an athlete in high school and I wasn't really an art person, but I was trying to find my way of where I wanted to go, and I had never even been to Seattle when I signed up. It's, it was like the beginning of the internet days, you know, sort of.
Right.
So when I went there, I was pretty blown away, and it was a huge culture shock to me.
Yeah.
But I also was open to art, and there was so much going on that I had never really been exposed to. I went there actually for interior design, and that's what I got, that's what I studied there. But there were some pretty amazing people along the way, like my roommate, Carrie. I always think of her too because she was more of a classic artist kid, and she actually was the one that taught me how to paint, and we would do stuff like that in the dorms. And I remember just feeling so wow, I found a little piece of something that I think I've always carried along the way with me ever since that time. But people do sometimes reference the fact that my things look like textile or design aspects. And after design school, I went, and my first big job was I became a designer at a tile showroom. And so I got to make all of these really beautiful tile layouts, and then they'd get shipped to Italy, or I would design them. them, and then they would make them, and then we would sell them, kind of an Anzac sort of situation. And I think that's where all this geometry came into my brain, and playing with all of these different patterns and textures, and the way that the colors would play and pop off of each other were all things I was doing a lot that way, and playing on a grid. And all these years later, 17 years later, whatever, I'm still really obsessed with this idea of things on grids and things very much in like symmetry or asymmetry. And I can still see like the root of that original idea still kind of coming into my work that I do today.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's really cool. I love looking at your work because you can see textile in it. I mean, I can picture quilts, or I think at one point you mentioned that you brought kind of a Pennsylvania Dutch feel to a lot of your work. And I grew up in Virginia, so I'm familiar. That's close to Pennsylvania. We used to go up there all the time, but
it's kind of like an old tradition that I think kind of feels like a warming of the heart. So after, in Seattle, I was kind of pursuing a little bit more surrealist type of work, and I was trying to get into some galleries there with that type of work, kind of expressionist surrealism, and a lot of shadowing, a lot of texture, things that were still geometric but not very abstract at all. And then when we left Seattle and moved to Walla Walla, we had a little baby. I had a little 1-year-old, and Seattle was kind of eating us up, and we needed to do something different.
Right.
And it kind of felt like this I think I felt a little defeated, and I think that's what's so interesting in life sometimes, is the things that like sometimes feel like, oh man, I never made it in Seattle the way I wanted to, and all these different things. But it kind of felt like a rebirth in Walla Walla after I kind of got over my feeling a little bummed out for myself.
Right.
And I had this old 100-year-old barn on the property that we were renting, and I was so inspired by it. And I finally just decided, I'm so tired of making art because I think that's where I learned, I'm tired of making art that I think everyone else wants me to make, or what the galleries wanted me to make, or what other people thought I did well. And it was like this real moment of, I don't think I care anymore. I'm going to cover that old barn in art for myself because I want people to drive by and see this whole thing blasted with fun geometric pattern, because I can, and I will, and I'm doing it for myself. And there was this whole kind of really cool empowerment that came out of it. And it was also this feeling of, it wasn't so serious anymore. I got to do something that was a little bit more of a craft. And I think at a time that would have felt like a very humbling to where I had tried to get as a fine artist. And I think I had just let go of all of that caring so much and just decided to have fun. And it was really, really cool. And then that's what birthed the art party event that me and my sister started.
Right.
Was this barn. It was so inspiring. And you know how beautiful the landscape here in Walla Walla is with the rolling hills. And it was in this beautiful area and this gorgeous barn out in this pasture. And we were we can do this ourselves. And I still continue to feel this way, where I'm just I want to do things myself. I want to do things that I'm really driven to do. I want to create experience around art that's fun and that people can feel welcome to, and that kind of has a full-on experience versus the white walls, the stuffiness, and the feeling like not everyone belongs there.
Right.
So that was where the art party started.
So is that barn, is it art on the outside or in the
it was all on the outside of it.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was one of those really, really big ones.
Oh,
and
fun.
then my husband's really brave and just get up on the ladder and put up these giant 4-foot, 5-foot barn quilts all over it.
So tell us a little about the art party. What was the party?
Yeah, so my sister's a photographer and also kind of just doing it for the love of doing it. She loved film photography. And so I think we both just wanted an avenue, and she was living here at the time. And so she printed a bunch. She had just lived in Germany and had printed all these beautiful film photos that she had. So we collaborated between my barn, which seems like it would make sense, but it's film photography and my barn art things. And we hung up massive amounts of twinkle lights, and we invited a band, and we put straw bells in a circle, and we had merch, and we sold barn art party hats, and little Sarah's a graphic designer, my sister, and she's so talented. We did these fun little prayer candles of us as artists. So mine was with paintbrushes, so maybe religious people could be offended. They were kind of the prayer candles, but they were artist prayer candles. That were really funny. That's funny because artists always could use prayers, Yeah. And we're if you can't afford a painting, you can have a $5 candle.
That's great. That's
So those
hilarious.
were great. And so we had like really fun merch and things like that. So we did that up until the pandemic. And then the pandemic, unfortunately, kind of slowed us down, and it kind of put a pause on it. And then I had another baby. So life kind of ended up going a different way. But we did 3 different art party events, and people started to get really excited about it.
Yeah.
And it was such a creative project. Like Sarah made killer posters. We just put a ton of it into it, and we did it all ourselves, and I think we felt really proud of that.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Super fun.
We were trying to find a way to bring some wine into it, but unfortunately, like liquor license and stuff made that kind of challenging, because we were like, now we just need to get a little booze in here.
Yeah,
That's like the only thing we're missing is a little wine.
They buy the art when you have a little wine.
And I was like, if we could just find some way to make like that less, Washington gets kind of particular about everything, and we were like, well, this is getting impossible.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, that would have been the perfect thing. So, but maybe it'll still happen in a different way.
Yeah.
So, as a painter, what's your medium? Do you do mixed media, or are you acrylics? Are you oils?
Yeah. So I've moved really far away from the barn art party days, but there's a really cool thread of that time. I think that still is indicative of like where I've moved to. But I do acrylic art, and I really love wood panels because I really moved away from canvas. That used to be something I love, but I really love a smooth texture. I really like to kind of abuse the surface. So I do a lot of like heavy paint and textural moments where I'm then sanding things down, so I get this really cool reveal of texture. Texture play is a really important aspect of my art that I like to do, and then I get the smooth texture, and the paint becomes kind of thirsty when it's been sanded, so you can sort of make watercolor type of watered down moments that can be really beautiful with the sort of color blocking that I love to play in, that's really solid, and I love the play on those two things.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting.
That's cool.
So the panels kind of give me that ability to sort of be really hard on them. And I like the smooth texture. Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
So they're wood panels. They're
Yeah.
not like slabs of wood, but they're smooth.
Yeah, they're wood panels. Yeah. And then my husband is a carpenter, so he does all like my float frames for me. So we
nice.
locally source like big pieces of maple, and then he mills it all down and makes me float frames that fit the pieces.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So some of them are a little flatter, and then some of them are a little bit more raised depending on the panel I'm using. But it's been kind of a fun way to, once again, I love being a little bit more in control of what I'm doing and being able to do what size I want to do.
Yeah.
And not be stuck with what I can buy. Yeah.
Yeah.
More options.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're not tied down to what they say.
Yes, exactly. I know. I would definitely feel that way.
For all your screen printing needs, trust the local you can count on. Pyramid Printing has been a Coeur d'Alene favorite for over 2 decades.
Specializing in screen printing, embroidery, signs, banners, and stickers. For all jobs, big and small, just give Eric a call.
Email us at info@pyramidprintingcda.com or give us a call at 208-664-0254.
PyramidPrintingCDA.com.
Greetings, listeners of the Allie and Callie Artcast podcasts. This is Jason from Tubbs Coffee Roasters. Keeping art alive and culture relevant is the heart and soul of our community of creatives. And as a local coffee roaster who loves a good origin story of a painter or a farmer or a musician, we proudly support the Allie and Callie's Artcast podcast's expansion and exploration through positive conversation. So grab a cup of coffee, preferably one from Tubbs Coffee Roasters, and tune in, humans. Your ears will thank you.
So you went from interior design into what you do now. So how did that transition come about?
I am self-taught, so I taught myself how to paint, and it's been kind of a long, humbling journey through doing that and trying to find my own voice through it. I think there's been some really positive things to that, and some things that I still feel like I would love to take a figurative drawing class, like things that are a little bit more traditional. I feel like still would love, and I have a lot of interest in that sort of thing. But I was self-taught, and honestly, I have this gene in myself that's sort of like, Okay, so I went to Pioneer Square to all the art walks and different things, and I was so inspired, but I also was like, I could do that.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
And I have this like gene about myself that I'm like, I could do that, you know? And it kind of stemmed from that. I saw what other people were doing, and I was like, I think I could do that.
I know.
And I started trying to do it. And then I was obviously, as we will be like humbled by abstract art and how challenging it is
not as easy as it looks.
Yes, exactly. And I learned that, but it kind of all started for me feeling like, you know, and then I went from there. So I didn't get a lot of art assistance in class, but there was so much like rendering for interior design and different things like that definitely played a role into like making of art, because they were still doing a lot of pen to paper, pencil to paper. I did all hand drafting and different things like that. So once again, playing in all this geometry and
your
grid and lines, and it's really just kind of captured my mind since the beginning, even though it wasn't necessarily like, this is a landscape class. Right. It's a little bit of a curveball of a thing, but it's an interesting education in that, because the teachers are people that are active in interior design or active in animation or active in film. And so you get a hands-on with people that are also professionals in those fields. So you kind of come about it as a trade. It definitely has that trade school feel to it. And then placement afterward, which didn't really come true, but which I think is maybe why they are no longer actually. The art institutes are all done now, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's been a big lawsuit about it. And so people have gotten, I think if you still have outstanding things for it because of all the things that they promised artists and different creative people, they didn't come up with those things. So actually the Art Institute is no longer.
Oh no, I did not know
I think the only one that's left is the Art Institute of Chicago, as far as I understand.
Oh, wow.
Which was a pretty iconic one. Like Nick Cage and all kinds of different people, I think, came out of that one.
Wow.
Some really interesting artists. But
Well, speaking of that area, you have a show going on in Canton, Ohio?
I do.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So John Strauss Studios, you should check them out. They have amazing handmade, made in the USA furniture that's modern, that's gorgeous. If you ever think like, wow, they just don't make furniture like they used to. Yeah, they do, and these guys do it. Yeah. They are like solid wood, gorgeous, very modern. Their aesthetic is very creative and interesting, and probably along the modern line. So my art fits really, really well into their landscape. My friend Carissa is the designer that works there, and her husband John is the one that makes the furniture. And so they work as a husband-wife team as far as design, and then he's the builder. And they welcomed me as having a permanent residency there into Ohio. So I've done a couple different events there, and I did a solo show. Liminal was my collection that I brought there, and it was just really a neat experience. And then now my art continues to sort of travel around the showroom with the furniture, as well as be up in the gallery. So they kind of have a gallery space and a furniture space.
Oh, that's really fun.
Yeah, and Canton is a very artistic town. Lots of artists there. It's affordable to live, so you'll find anywhere from like metal to glass to painters and everybody. It's a huge artistic area, and there's lots of people that are doing really, really cool things there.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow.
Yeah, and then there's the Amish community, which is really interesting that it's so neat and it's so nearby. So for him, that's one of the ways that he's able to make a lot of his, his furniture and things that way, because he utilizes the Amish to help him like steam bend things so that he can have like gorgeous cabinets that are round and oval and all this beautiful stuff. So that's
there is
really
quite
cool.
an art to that.
Did you see the baskets that were at Dama as well?
We are going back.
We are going back
because we did the interview with Mary, and
it was too early to drink.
It was too early to drink, and we didn't really get to look around. We had such a great conversation. Yeah, we'll check it out. So those are his baskets.
So my baskets, that I've like
They're
painted a lid. Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
I got those when I went there for one of the shows in Ohio, and her name, I just have to highlight her because she'll never hear it because she's Amish and she doesn't have electricity or anything. Her name is Emma, and she made all of the baskets for me. So they're handmade. Every piece of this basket is made in the USA. I really had this like big desire to want to do a picnic basket collection, because I just think finding a way to do functional art where people can use your art, but also have it be a functional piece, or maybe an heirloom type of piece that they could hand down that's not just on the wall.
Yeah.
When I was in Sun Valley, I guess I'm coming around about the conversation in a funny way. When I was in Sun Valley one time, I found this really cool vintage basket, and it had this really cool lid, and it had like potato chips and a napkin and a pencil. I mean, like kind of all these quirky items painted on the top. And I was like, oh, I love this. So I got it. And ever since then, I wanted to like recreate it. But to have a handmade basket, you know, made here in Washington, like this size of basket and this caliber is like $500 or $400.
Yeah.
So expensive. And so I was like, by the time I do that and then put a hand painted lid on here, we're like maybe getting a little like out of realm for like what, you know, a picnic basket value.
Right.
That.
Yeah.
So then when I found Emma, she made me all these beautiful baskets. They were made in the USA. I felt so empowered by all of that. And they were made by another woman, which felt really important to me. And she was, you know, my business was really meaningful to her. And so I painted all of these, and I've got to do lots of fun things. Some of them are more my geometric bohemian type of style on the top. And then some of them are like, you know, a piece of a pie and a piece of cake and a pencil and a crossword puzzle and all this fun stuff. And so it's really fun. And like daisies and Sudoku puzzles and like deviled eggs and all these kind of like fun picnic things. And there's little ant trails and bees on them. And I just like all the whimsical parts of my brain. And I had so much fun making them.
That's fun.
Yeah. So I just have a few left, and the remaining ones are at Dama.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I have just a few left, and they have them there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, and I'm supposed to tell you that Trish at the Co-op Gallery, they'd love to have you in the gallery.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I know.
She's like, drop my
a hint.
name if you like.
Oh, thank you.
She
Yeah,
loves your work, so there you go.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for supporting that. It's always nice to hear that you're being recognized, that people see you and they appreciate what you're putting out there.
Yeah.
Because you're definitely making from your heart and putting out a feeling that you hope that will connect with other people. And that's a big, important part of making for me.
I think it resonates in your work when your heart and your passion is in it, for sure. I mean,
Absolutely.
So what do you see, as you said in our conversation earlier, that you kind of take the time with your kids in the summer. So in the fall, what do you think you'll be working on?
Well, I started this umbrella series that I really hoped would feel like doorways into a feeling or an experience. I didn't want them to look like mirrors or like something you've already seen. So I hope that they kind of allow you to feel like lost and taken away in them. But there are a series of umbrellas in these different landscapes, kind of vacation-esque in some ways, but it's given me an opportunity to like design some furniture and put an umbrella and do some fun shadowing, even in my reductive style and my color blocking style. And I'm highlighting a lot of my textures that I've been developing over the last hundreds of years. Just kidding.
Sometimes it feels like it, right?
So it's like I'm doing my thing where I'm taking an acrylic medium and that kind of gives it sort of, what's the beeswax? Encaustic.
Thank you.
Encaustic?
Yeah, so it's
encaustic.
kind of like an encaustic vibe that I've created with acrylic mediums. And so I'm like building up, and I'm using tape to sort of like corral all of this medium into whatever shape I want it to be in. And you'll see that when you go to Dama and look at some of the tablecloths or the seats underneath the umbrellas, that they have all this texture that looks like dimpled. It's where I burn into that medium.
The Ovation Company, in partnership with the Chalkboard Agency, is committed to improving the climate and culture of our schools. The number one indicator for student success is connectedness, feeling like you are part of something. Nothing helps connect people like a good story. After all, isn't a podcast a way to share and collect stories? The Chalkboard Agency's mission is to connect the world of education through the stories that bond us all. To find out more, visit thechalkboardagency.com. And if you have a story to tell that you believe would help young people to be kinder to one another, reach out to the Chalkboard Agency and let us connect you to the world.
Add a little flair to your special events with Scraps Barbecue, a great catering choice for your next gathering. Specializing in golf tournaments, sporting events, weddings, and other family friend gatherings, their commercial kitchen can be on site, or you can choose to have a fully catered meal delivered right to you. Known for their authentic Santa Maria-style tri-tip and tequila lime fish tacos, they can customize the menu to meet your needs for groups of 20 to 2,500. Contact Kevin at kevin@scrapsbarbecue.com or check them out on Facebook.
So what are you working on next?
Let's see. I'm just going to continue. I've got one that I'm working in the studio right now that I used kind of as inspiration from Germany. So there's sort of this loose graffiti, cool, lots of texture, and then a high gloss like umbrella that's red that's popping off. It's on
cool.
some balcony seats. I'm playing with a lot of texture in the concrete.
Oh, fun.
It's a big one. It kind of has this very like modern, dirty, almost gives that Seattle vibe, that grit, that like dirtiness that's kind of fun, where a lot of the other ones are a little bit brighter. So anyways, that one's kind of interesting. And so I have a few more. I think I still have more umbrellas I wanted to do. I showcased several of them at Dama. Just when they asked me to do the show, that's what I had been working on. I'd been trying to build this series for like well over a year, and I wasn't sure exactly where I wanted it to go or where I had hoped for it to go. And so I thought, well, this is kind of a fun test run to see people's reactions of it. So it is. I don't feel I'm done with it. I feel like the idea of this umbrella is still in me, and I love the geometry of the umbrella, and then I get to play in my more expressionist ways in the other places of the painting, and I'm excited for you guys to see some of them and see what you think.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
They're a fun mix of a lot of the things that I've done, and I can now see which, for artists that are like coming up or still feeling like they're developing their style, you think sometimes you've wasted time because you've left things behind, but it becomes part of your toolkit, and it becomes part of things that you can reach for when you want to express something different. So I think never is it any of it lost, even if it's like, well, I don't do this anymore, or I don't utilize all that ability that I had. Now I'm doing this. But over time, I always loved the artist journey. I love like seeing where they start and where they go.
Oh, yeah.
And I kind of am one of those people that I hope that I'll like never stay in one place. And so far that's been very true. I have really moved through a lot of different ways that my art looks, but I'm an ever-changing person. So this idea that like I have to create a brand and it has to look this way.
Right.
And I need my art to look this way so that it's identifying. And
So
I'm like,
people know me.
Yeah, exactly. And the identifying thing is it's me.
Yeah.
Right? I am the person who made it. That is the thing.
My name should identify
and
my
the art
work.
will move around me as I move and change as a person.
Right.
And so I just never felt that pressure. And I always thought that was kind of baloney, this whole idea that we really need to stay in one place.
Yeah.
Because I don't stay in a place.
I know.
No, but then you become stagnant.
Exactly.
We need to be dynamic.
I know. The COVID changed the way my art changed, because I was online going.
COVID changed
the
a lot of
COVID.
it.
They did.
The COVID.
Yes.
I mean, well, because I couldn't perform anymore, and I was like, well, I guess I better get in the studio. And then I just started watching things online. Then I really got into resin work with my husband. He does woodworking, and so we made a bazillion charcuterie boards and with resin, and I did big resin art and all kinds of things which I love, but now it's too hot to be in the studio for resin. But it's
But
amazing.
that was one of the big benefits of COVID was
The creative.
forcing people to step out of the box
And do something
think,
different.
Yeah, think differently. Think about how to do things differently. We learned how to run businesses differently and still maintain and
hopefully
somehow
still be creative. Did you did you feel like that affected you at all that whole time, or was it a great time to, it's also a great time to be with family. That's what I noticed is I spent way more time with my family and way more time in my home, which was good. But how did you feel?
I was pregnant during the pandemic, so I had a lot of additional worries and challenges with people not understanding my need to feel like I needed to protect my baby once the baby was born.
Absolutely.
And not because you feel one way or another, or I'm on one side, right or left either. Just that, like, I can't live with myself if something bad happens here. There was so much fear around all of that.
Sure.
But so I had a little one. So that wasn't a super creative time because I was kind of in the trenches. And then I was also like teaching my daughter, which now I can look back and be like, I wish that as women sometimes we could just see how we can make our lives easier. But she didn't need to have a very regimented kindergarten class, but in my postpartum and having this little baby, I just felt like it was so important she was so excited about kindergarten.
Oh, yeah.
And now I wish I would just been like, Sesame Street's good. You'll be fine. Now that I've had a second child and my parenting is sort of adjusted.
That first child has to go through the ringer a little bit.
Instead, I just kind of remember like I was like nursing and being like trying to make it fun, and I'd be like, "Hi, I'm Mrs. Crane, and I forgot to get dressed today, but she's here. ABC, let's get." I just was like, I felt like I was losing my mind.
Oh man,
quite literally, because I was like no sleep, and then being like trying to kind of like I was trying to create an educational program, we're trying to like do research in our books to like bookmark things so I could show her things or have papers for her to do.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, now I can just see that it was not necessary, but it felt necessary at the time, and I think during that time we just all have to give ourselves
grace.
We never knew what was going to happen or how long.
Yeah.
And we were all just doing the best we can.
Exactly.
We just didn't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I have always found that, through motherhood and that challenging, wonderful, amazing thing that it is, that my art is my thing that I can always be like, when I get lost in what I call Mother Mary, it's like, which isn't like a holy thing either, because that is not what's going on, but like where you just feel like unconnected from who you are, like within yourself or who you were before that. It's like getting into the studio and making my art and feeling that I can express myself and have something that I'm working on independently has really always been something so important. And it's like my therapy. It's like so important for me to do it. And I always have to dedicate time for it, and I protect it very strongly. I make sure that I get it because it fuels me and it kind of fills me up. Yes, it is hard work. I think the business aspect of it is challenging for creative people. And you guys do a really good job of talking to people about that part, which I really love. And I feel like that's another place where I would even love to talk to you guys further, because it's like learning how to market yourself and how to truly try to be more successful. Because I hear so many of us artists and myself, just it's a challenge to make a living doing this. But art is so important, and female artists are so important.
Yes.
And what we give to culture is so important. But like, how do you eat, live, drive a car, own a home? How do you do these things? And I feel like there just needs to be like so many of these women that have figured this out. Like, we have to sort of just like unbox this for each other somehow and help each other figure this out.
Oh yeah.
Because we have an uphill battle, I think, even just with the female aspect already.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
The business of art.
The business of art
is hard. It's not easy.
No.
The Idaho Commission on the Arts has, for the last, after COVID, I don't think they've done it again, but I think they're planning to do it again. They called it the Entrepreneur class, and it was a workshop, and it was actually a year-long workshop where all these artists would apply and meet monthly with this team person who would lead them through the business of art, which is, when you're an artist, you just want to create.
Yes.
You never think about,
I got to send the emails. I got to do the Instagram. I got to do this.
Exactly. And I would like to see more of that happen.
Well, and I appreciate what you guys do. I think that you do that, and I want to listen to more episodes of yours, but I love that part of it.
Yay, we have a new listener.
Yes, I am. I know. I really have been deep diving and all the neat people you guys have talked to. I've been really listening and just enjoying it. It's always fun to find a new podcast anyways.
Yeah.
Good. And I love a creative podcast, but I think you guys do a really good job. And
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're trying to focus, and I'm still a member of the Arts and Culture Alliance, and we have a program called Arts Buzz.
Okay.
And where they meet once a month at the Chamber in Coeur d'Alene, and they're really trying to, instead of, it kind of became a little bit of a therapy for artists who maybe had been in their studios too much and needed to have human contact. There was a little bit of that, and then it changed a little bit, and then they were focusing on bringing in people who knew how to tell us how to market, tell us how to do a website, how to. So they're trying to bring in people that are experts in that to make it a better business for you. So we're trying to connect the artists with the business side, and our executive director Abby and a couple members of our board are trying to really connect the business side, which is great because as an artist myself, I am terrible at it. So it's good that we know there's a need for it. And to make a living, you have to have that side. And
Absolutely.
we don't all have agents, and we don't all have producers.
Right.
Like Chris is
Or graphic designer.
our graphic designers,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
at our beck and call, you know.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have that. And
Absolutely.
yeah, if we can help you, we'll do
Yes,
what we
we
can.
Yeah, no, I think it's just so great. I want to help I want to help each other, you know.
Yeah.
When I look at even what I have currently going on with my art, I cannot even tell you that besides it, that they're all women supporting women.
That's
you know.
awesome.
And I have art at the Blythe Cricket in Joseph, Oregon, which is, you know, my sister owns the little. It's like the most amazing little restaurant. You guys would love it. It's all like Pyrex glass, and it's very colorful.
Oh, where is it?
And it's they have the best coffee and sandwiches in Joseph, Oregon.
Joseph.
That's
So,
where
like,
the
Walla Walla
foundry
Lake
that Cheryl
area.
Metcalf goes to.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, anyways, and they've given me like a permanent residency since they opened, her and Margaret, and I
nice.
have the walls all to myself, and I did this
Nice.
whole collection on jars. So, because I was so inspired, I love to can like you do, and so I was filling all my garden goodies, and I started painting like colorful tablecloths or textures and jars full of pickles or lemons or pears, and then like with a wallpaper background. Again, a
Right.
great opportunity for like texture and all my geometry and all these fun places to play. But it was in this like traditional, it was like modern but traditional, and almost had a pop art vibe in the sense
Oh,
that
that's fun.
Oh, that sounds fun.
so those
Yeah.
so I have a bunch of jar paintings there at this cafe because it fits so cute with all the retro Pyrex kind
Right.
of
Oh, yeah.
style, and so that's really fun.
Oh, cool.
So if somebody wanted to see your art, where would they go?
Yeah.
You know, Instagram, I do try to share a lot on Instagram, and then I do have a website. It mostly has my liminal collection on it right now. But yeah, so the Instagram's kind of a nice place to see it. Blythe Cricket, and then I'm at John Strauss Studios in Ohio, and then currently I'm at the Dama Winery in Walla Walla downtown doing that group show with my friend
and your
Jennifer and
website
Lindsay.
is
Oh, it's mcrane, C-R-A-N-E, art.com.
mcraneart.com.
Right.
Yeah. And then another woman that's been really supportive as well is Linda from LL Bevan. She is a maker of leather goods out of Pendleton. She makes she makes fabulous handbags, and she also makes a lot of the court vests for like Pendleton Roundup or Ukiah
fun.
Rodeo. She makes
wow.
amazing leather goods. Anyways, and so she has a little bit more of my Western Bohemian pieces in her shop, her leather shop downtown Pendleton.
that's
so,
fun.
but once again, as you can see, it's just like female. We love your art. I think it's so important that we all support one another. And I
Yes.
just felt
Yeah.
so much love from other women, and I am really passionate about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's the year of the woman.
Yes, it is.
It is. We love it.
I know, right?
We're all about promoting women.
Absolutely. I know you guys are too, so I know I have a similar thread there with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
We love
Yay.
that. We love it. Yeah. Oh, this is so fun.
I know. Well, we really appreciate you coming down and meeting with us, and it's been lovely getting to know you better.
So
My
your
pleasure.
Instagram is
It's also M Crane Art.
Crane Art.
M Crane Art.
Yeah.
I think I'm following you already.
Oh, thank
I already
you.
am following you, but I just wanted to make sure we said it.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
no,
everyone
thank you
can
so much. Yeah,
check
hop
it
over
out.
there. And then once I get going back after the summer, this fall, I'll show things as I'm working on them. I
love
in
that.
process stuff because I love studio stuff and I love the messes of studios.
Yeah.
and,
Oh, I do too.
and they're like, I'm such a tidy person in my life, but my studio, it's a mess, and I
know.
like it that way, kind
Yeah.
of almost.
If
I like
it's
to leave
clean,
everything
you're probably
out.
not working.
No,
Right.
and I like everything to be out, and I kind of, it's so funny when
Yeah.
you come into my studio, crazy ADHD person's mess, right? Like
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
just piles and all this stuff, and I don't want to put anything away. I like it all out.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
then my house is much more tidy because
Yeah.
it's like, that's a different, it's
The
just
Arts and Culture
interesting.
Alliance has done a studio tour for every year for
Yeah.
years, and you get artists that come in and they start to clean their studio.
Yeah.
And I say, no, people want to see the mess. They want to see the creative
But then they're
process.
like I'd been on it a couple of years, and I'm like, no, you don't want to see it like this. there is a point.
There's a point.
There's a point where they're like the cobwebs and the too much.
I have a small little garbage, and because I use so much tape, right, I'm always throwing tape, so it ends up being this big hair. It
ball.
looks like a hair, like kind of, but it's all still loose loose, and then finally I'll stick, because I like to use my recycled plastic. I'll fill it with paint colors that I'm using or something, and then I'll toss that at it, and everything sticks, to it. And so eventually, at the end, that's one thing I always do on Instagram is take a picture of my giant tape sculpture that crawls up the wall.
There you go.
Before it finally tips over, and I'll like stick eyeballs and faces on it because it's so funny to me because they really do become sculptural.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm like, I hate to throw this one away. Look at this.
I used to do the same. I'd have
it's garbage, but it's
the
interesting.
extra resin that would pour out and fall out of some of my molds or whatever. I'd peel them off the table. That was like my favorite thing to do at the end of the day, is just peel off stuff. And then I would save it because I would do beach art, like waves and stuff that. And I'd have all this stuff, and I'm like, I'm going to use this stuff. So I had like a box full of this resin, and I'm like, okay, it was getting to the point where I didn't have any room in the studio. I was like, okay, if I haven't used it by now, it's out. So I kind of finally threw it away. But oh my gosh,
Can you reuse resin? Can you kind of like reliquify it?
I don't think I've ever. I don't know how I would melt it. Sometimes it gets too hot, and you can create fire.
Right. That's what I was curious about. So
and I have had fire. Not fire. I've had smoke. Yeah. Where. Somehow I didn't mix it quite right, and this was in the beginning when I was starting with resin, and it got too hot, and I was doing it on canvas. I was pouring, and then I did the pouring with resin, and I was like, I didn't do it fast enough. You only have a certain amount of time with certain resins, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, what is smoking? And then I was like, and then this, the stir stick it was burning, and I was like, oh, and I found the bucket of water, and I put it in there, and I was like, well, I did something wrong. That didn't work, but I don't know. So I don't think you could. I don't know. That's a good question.
For you for sticking with resin though after you almost like started a fire.
At least I didn't burn down my studio. But it's resin's a lot of work too. But I went back to painting this week, this last month. So.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm excited to see some of your work.
Yeah, as well. I'm excited about it. I'm copying someone right now,
and I might need your tomato.
Oh my God,
canned sauce recipe because my tomatoes are coming on. So
I grow my own basil and my own garlic, and I make the pesto.
Me too.
And then I just make the sauce, add the pesto, and can it.
Yum.
It's so good.
Yeah,
it's
very
just
good.
Ready to go.
It's yummy.
Oh, I would love that.
And my
recipe.
kids are always trying to take it.
I bet they are.
Yeah.
That makes an easy meal in winter. That's why I love all the canning. Is I'm always like really grateful to my summer self.
You've got it.
I work so hard, and then I get to have an easy meal in the winter.
God did that.
To have an extra cup of tea and relax.
Nice.
Or an extra glass of wine.
Yes, exactly.
That too.
Yes, that sounds pretty good right now.
Well, thank you so much. It was so nice to meet you.
It was so nice to have met all of you as well.
Can't wait to see more of your art, and we are going to go to Dama eventually. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what time, but it's happening.
Sweet. Yeah, exactly.
Well, if you guys want to go, I'll go with you.
Okay,
let's
go.
Do it. I'm ready for a glass of wine.
Oh yes, let's do it.
Okay, let's do it.
So thank you so much.
Yeah, I know.
Let's move the party. Let's go. And I'm Callie,
and we'll see ya.
We'll see you later.
We gotta go.
Whatever you do today, make sure it's creative and drink some wine.
The Allie and Callie Artcast is sponsored in part by Tubbs Coffee Roasters, globally sourced, locally roasted coffee. Scraps Barbecue, a locally owned catering company. The Ovation Company, standing for what is right and good. And Pyramid Printing, a Coeur d'Alene favorite for over 2 decades.